Hello and welcome to this video about mainly Ubuntu 16.04 distributions memory usage comparison. All Ubuntu distributions have the same base system, but mostly different desktop environments. I made one exception with Linux Mint 17.3 Cinnamon, which is based on 14.04, because there is no other Ubuntu distribution that comes out of the box with a Cinnamon desktop environment. The tested distributions are the main Ubuntu distribution with the Unity desktop, Ubuntu Mate, Ubuntu Gnome, Xubuntu, Kubuntu, Budgie Remix, which is not an official Ubuntu flavor until now, Lubuntu, Ubuntu Studio, and Linux Mint 17.3 Cinnamon Edition. The desktop environments of these distributions can be categorized in three groups: the GTK2 editions, the GTK3 editions, and the Qt editions. And this was my test environment. I use VirtualBox 5018 on an Ubuntu Mate 16.04 host, 2 GB of RAM given. The VirtualBox guest editions were installed. I use a screen resolution of 1680 to 1050. After the installation of each distribution, all available updates were made. HTOP was installed and a screenshot was taken around 1 minute after the restart of each distribution. This will not reflect the behavior of a distribution on real hardware, but it makes things comparable. Ubuntu Gnome was the biggest boy in town. It comes with Gnome Shell 3.18 and a memory usage of 728 megabytes. The Gnome shell is based on GTK3. Ubuntu Gnome needs the most memory of the tested distributions, but it feels like the most responsive GTK3 distribution in VirtualBox. The Gnome shell is well known as resource-hungry. Fedora and Manjaro need around 50 megabytes less than Ubuntu Gnome. The most lightweight Gnome shell distribution I know is Debian Jessie with around 450 megabytes. The next distribution is Budgie Remix. This is not an official Ubuntu flavor until now. The Budgie desktop is under heavy development by the Solus project. The Solus project is an independent Linux distribution that is built from scratch like the Budgie desktop. The Budgie desktop has a nice application menu and a nice sidebar called Raven. It claims to be simple and lightweight, and of course in Solus it is. It is a very interesting project, which it is worth to be followed. The Solus distribution uses only 260 megabytes, so I can't explain myself why this distribution with 702 megabytes is so fat. Now have a look at the Ubuntu main distribution with the Unity desktop. It is also based on GTK3 and it needs 686 megabytes in this test. From Ubuntu Gnome to the main distribution with Unity, it's only a difference of 42 megabytes. This is Linux Mint 17.3 Cinnamon. This is the only distribution in this video which is not based on Ubuntu 16.04, it's based on 14.04. The reason of including Linux Mint is I want to know how much memory the Cinnamon desktop is using. It's also a GTK3 desktop, and the difference to Unity is enormous. It is using 385 megabytes of RAM, and that's 300 megabytes less than the Unity desktop. But now for me comes the biggest surprise. This is Kubuntu. Ubuntu 16.04 with a KDE desktop. And this takes the Linux world upside down. In earlier years, you need up-to-date hardware with a lot of memory and a strong processor to run KDE. Now you get a brand new, full-blown Plasma 5 desktop, and the whole distribution needs only 383 megs. This is less than any GTK3 distribution needs. KDE Plasma is using the Qt5 toolkit. I don't know what the KDE guys have done the past years, but I know they're doing damn right. Now it becomes a little bit difficult with this ranking, because the next two distributions are using the exactly same amount of memory. These two distributions are Xubuntu 16.04 and Ubuntu Mate 16.04. Let's start with Xubuntu. Xubuntu comes with the XFCE, or some call it X-Face desktop environment in the version 4.12. XFCE is a very mature desktop environment. For a long time ago, there were no updates available, but now they've made a big step forward, especially in usability over modern desktop environment. XFCE is based on GTK2. This is Ubuntu Mate 16.04, and it uses, like Xubuntu, 292 megabytes of RAM. The Mate desktop is a fork of the Gnome 2 desktop, and it's also built on the GTK2 libraries until now. The founder of Ubuntu Mate and Mate developer Martin Wimpress has announced the next version of Mate and Ubuntu Mate will be based on GTK3 libraries. I think this is the right decision, and this will help to keep the Mate desktop up to date. I asked the Ubuntu Mate team if this will blow up the memory usage, and they answered me that there will be only a little bit more overhead with the new libraries. The next distribution is Ubuntu Studio. It uses the XFCE desktop like Xubuntu. It's a special distribution for artists, and it uses 286 megabytes. It's nearly the same as Xubuntu and Ubuntu Mate. Now the last and the most lightweight distribution in this test is Lubuntu. It comes with the LXDE environment and uses only 195 megabytes. LXDE is using the GTK2 libraries. The Lubuntu team has announced that they want to switch from LXDE to LXQt. LXQt is also based on the Qt libraries like the KDE desktops that we have seen before. So this is also a very interesting project. Conclusion. We can see that the GTK3 or Gnome 3 distributions are using the most resources. Cinnamon and the KDE Plasma desktop are using nearly the same resources. The XFCE distributions and Ubuntu Mate are using exactly or nearly exactly the same amount of RAM. And the outstanding winner of this battle is Lubuntu with its LXDE desktop. But what does this mean in real life? A browser like Firefox or Chromium with 2 tabs open, Facebook and Twitter, is using around 1 gig of RAM. So if you have an old computer or a low-powered netbook, you should at the maximum use Linux Mint Cinnamon. If you have only 2 GB RAM. Okay, memory is very cheap today. But why using a Gnome desktop when you can use Ubuntu Mate and you have very much more space for your applications? But this is only my personal opinion. Thank you for watching this video.